Hello and welcome back to Podcast with a K. I am joined here on this fine Sunday evening of episode 2 of season 2 by none other than my sister, once again, Charlit.
Hello, hello.
Welcome back to the studio, kid.
Thank you.
How you
I'm
been?
excited to be back. I've been fantastic. You know, we just got back from summer break.
It's been about a few weeks now, Charlit.
It's been like 3 weeks, but I'm still adjusting. You
It's
already
been a
know.
minute.
It's an adjustment.
It has indeed been an interesting time back. We actually got here early, so we got enough time to fill
early
in.
this time.
And you're, you've been an upperclassman, but you're officially in all major classes, right? You're done with your tiers?
Yes, ma'am,
So
I
it's
am.
into the mic.
Well, yeah. So, I still have like my tier 3 stuff, but those are covered by my major classes. So I'm done with like the extra tier stuff. That's like the tedious kind of stuff.
It's all smooth sailing. And remind us again, you are a what major doing what? What's the point of your life here?
What am I doing with my life? That's a good question. I am a theater major with a concentration in acting and a communications minor. Possibly soon to be a second major, still trying to figure out my life. But
You stay copying me, dog.
yeah, we're basically kind of like doing similar stuff.
I would just like to point out that Charlotte used to want to be a veterinarian, and then she decided to follow my footsteps into the arts.
All right. No, but I used to I still love animals, of course. But yeah, I wanted to be a zoologist for a while too, because I moved from like the little dogs and kitties to like the big guys,
The big boys.
The big boys. But then I realized how many science classes that was, and I don't like science classes. Therefore, I went to the arts. But that was always like my hobby type thing. Like, in middle school, I did a lot of acting and stuff.
Right. Tell us about your other interests. What did you get into this summer? We're going to hop right into a topic with this one.
Right into this one.
There's a lot to discuss.
This summer, I completely binge-watched Stranger Things seasons 1, 2, and 3.
So for those of you listening, from now until about probably 11:30, spoiler alert, question mark.
I guess. We could try to stick away from, like, major spoilers, but
Into the mic.
Things come out. My bad. But, yeah, so I so I saw this video on Facebook, I think, for season 3 when...
See, spoiler alert.
Oh, yeah, I guess.
No, you go ahead and talk. Okay. I've done my part.
So it's like when Dustin is singing his little song with... What's her name? I forgot her name.
Sophie.
Oh yeah. So it was like a little video of the little part where they're singing to each other, and she's like, I want to hear it, and he starts like singing it with her.
Turn around.
Look at what you see.
Yes, that one.
It was the cutest thing. So I was like, okay, you know what, screw it, I'm gonna watch this show. I'm gonna watch all of it and be caught up, so that when season 4 comes around, I can just sit down and watch the whole entire thing.
Right.
So I didn't take into consideration that I'd have to wait an entire year for season 4 to come out. But it was so cute. I freaking loved it. And so I also didn't realize that it was like the very last episode of season 3 where that happened. So the whole time of season 3 I was like, when's the heck are they gonna do it? And it wasn't until the last episode, but it was like a good like little ending thing. Oh, but there was like people complaining that they were like, oh, it didn't have to be a part of the storyline, and it just created more tension, and it was unnecessary. But I was like, are you crazy? It was one of the cutest things. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was
a
cute.
lot of complaints on Twitter.
See, here's something that I will say, not just about Stranger Things, but about a lot of shows. I was very into Black Mirror, and this was a thing with Black Mirror too. People seem to not actually like happy endings anymore.
I don't understand
why. We all went through the whole happily ever after type nonsense, right?
A lot of people think happy endings aren't artistic anymore. Like, they think they're basic. But I like happy endings personally. Like, it gives you a sense of closure. I hate when a show ends on, like, a major cliffhanger.
Some shows are good with open endings and cliffhangers. Like, we've talked about Marvel a lot on this podcast.
Right, yeah.
But that's because there's something to follow up, right? But with these one-off stories, if it's not really leaving anything to the imagination, to me, unresolved endings kind of seem lazy. Like, you didn't know what the best way to fix your plot line was, so you were just kind of like, oh, it's up to the viewer to interpret it. And like, I read an article too, because I be reading, but
you be reading.
I be reading.
Who does that?
Me, apparently. But an article about basically what you just said. Like, people think that unhappy endings are deep and poetic and they mean something, but like, if you let something have a happy ending and you resolve it in a unpredictable yet still fulfilling way, I think that's a lot more talent than just letting it be up for literally just up for everyone's individual interpretation, because a good happy ending will still let you interpret why the characters are happy and why that's the good ending.
Yeah, and I feel like sure, a non-happy ending leaves it all up for discussion, and you discuss like why it wasn't happy, and you get to like kind of try to figure out, oh, what happens after this, like do they resolve it or whatever. But it's just very unsettling to me. Like I just feel like I need that little sense of closure to know that everything ended up okay. And I mean, even with Stranger Things, like
there are ups and downs. There's some really sad scenes. There's some really sad parts of the show.
It's a very good combination of
and
happy,
you say
sad,
goodbye
funny.
to a lot of characters.
That's
weirdly
true.
enough, for a show that's doing as well as this one is, they're kind of like, to me it felt like they're getting ready to leave the show behind.
Well, I'm hearing like a lot of rumors that season 4 might be the last season, like that they're trying to wrap it up. And one of my friends, shout out to my friend Ron, we had like a really long discussion and he was like, basically I feel like season 3 was a good rounding up season, and that's why it was so action packed and so like built up, because they're trying to bring it to a close. And I could see where that would be the case, but I just really don't want it to be, because I just like, there's people who have been following it since season 1, obviously.
Me.
And yeah, and
shout out Fio for making me watch it.
Hey, shout out to my girl Fio. I love her so much with my whole entire life. Anyway,
hi Fio, you better be listening.
Yeah, she better be. But what was I saying?
You were saying
now that's my train of thought. Oh, there's people that they've been following it since like season 1, and so they're like, oh yeah, it's wrapping up. It's been like a good amount of time. But since I just got into it, I'm like, no, it can't end now. Now it has to come like on for a whole bunch of years. Like I just now got into the whole thing. So I don't know. I don't want it to be over. I really hope that season 4 isn't the last one.
I don't know. It's been doing well. It's a good show for Atlanta to have, because it films in Atlanta. The mall is the mall in Georgia. And a lot of our friends that are from there have said that like it's cool to go to the mall and see like, oh, I know where they shot that scene, because that was literally right there.
Oh yeah, I do remember y'all having that conversation.
The show's good for the state. It's good for Netflix, and the show itself is really good. And like you said, you were able to binge watch it all and like not lose interest. Like,
yeah, didn't I binge watch it in like 2 weeks?
Yeah,
like I just sat down and watched the whole thing. I have no life, you guys.
You even got our mom into it.
Yeah, because she was interested in it too. So I was like, bet, we're going to sit down, we're going to watch it. And we literally sat there together and watched the whole thing. And she loves it too. She was obsessed, like as best as me. Like she was begging me for the longest time, like, hey, are we going to watch it? Are we going to watch it?
Right.
And so it's like, that's also another thing. I feel like it's just a show for all ages. It's a very good show. And I really loved how they would wrap up each episode, because they would leave you like with a cliffhanger. And then at the end of the season, yeah, it would have a cliffhanger for the rest of it, but it tied up every single part. Yeah. Ooh, and that's another thing I talked about for season 3. It was like for most of the seasons, they had separated, like the little friend group had separated. So it was 3 different little groups, each doing their own thing, solving their own mysteries or whatever. But then like at the end, they all come together and bring all their knowledge together and just wrapped it up so beautifully. And that's what I like about Stranger Things, is that it also has like little cliffhangers on the last episodes, but it gives you a sense of closure at the same time. Like it wraps up all the issues that they had in that season, and then leaves you with a little bit to look forward to for the next season. So you still stay engaged and you still stay wanting to learn more about it. So I think that it's doing a really good job, and I feel like they could get a whole lot of more seasons out of it.
I don't know. I also kind of admire when a show knows when it's time to end it. But the thing is, I just don't think Stranger Things is there yet, because there's still a lot of plot to develop. They've introduced new characters that are good for exploring. But then there's also shows that have a premise that can keep going, like Supernatural. I've recently started rewatching it, because
I remember the time period where you were obsessed and you were trying to catch up to the season.
So I heard
TV.
about the show when I was like way younger, like elementary, middle school, and I just never cared, because I wasn't that type of kid. And then in high school, I started.
You really went
around season 8, so I binge watched up to season 8 so I could watch it live on TV. I watched it for a good 5 years or so. Yeah. I stopped watching it around 12 or 13, because 12 or 13.
Yeah.
And recently the show got canceled, but the actors have been saying for a while that they would be happy if they got to the 300th episode. So they passed that around 12 or 13, like when I was still watching, maybe 14. Yeah. But so they hit their goal, their milestone, and that show got canceled. And of course everyone's like, oh, the show's ending, but everyone's like, oh, good, the show is coming to a close. It's more so like it's coming to a close than it's ending. And then there's other shows that just kind of go on forever and ever and drag on with no real purpose.
Criminal Minds. Or what's the other one? The hospital show? that everyone loves.
Grey's Anatomy.
Grey's Anatomy. That one has so many freaking seasons.
But, those shows are shows that never really lose. I mean, there's obviously the interaction of the characters, but they can keep introducing new things, right? So Supernatural with monsters, Criminal Minds with new murderers or whatever, Grey's Anatomy with new sicknesses, I guess. I don't know. I don't watch that show.
Yeah.
But
I think they have like a new patient or something like each episode, but they still have a storyline. Like I used to catch random episodes. It's like one of those shows that you don't have to watch it consecutively to get each episode, but if you do, you get like the nice storyline. Like
you can get
invested
into their storylines, but you can also just watch for each individual case. But with shows like Stranger Things that are entirely story and plot driven, a good place to end it and was when there's nothing left to explore. And they introduced a lot in this past season, right?
Yeah.
So the first season had the monster, the second season had like trying to stop the world from ending. The third season has Russians.
Oh my god, my boy.
Rip my boy Alexei, bro.
My dude.
But like they introduced a really interesting thing, which was the involvement of Russia during that time period when the Cold War.
That's another thing I like. Like they really include some historic stuff from their time period, and they really play into it. Like, the show The Goldbergs.
The Goldbergs.
Yes, I know you love it. So they also started
the future, but the past keeps getting clearer every day.
Okay, y'all hear those Carla vocals?
No, don't listen.
She doesn't just do a podcast; she's saying too.
Stop,
just so y'all
don't
know,
tell anyone. I'm a jack of all trades, but no one can know that.
Yeah, she keeps it on the low, but just know she's got some talent.
Stop. Why has everyone been boosting me this week?
She's a little humble about it. It's okay.
Sure. Last time Charlotte was here, I roasted her for being an Aries, and now she's here and she's boosting me. I don't know what's happening.
I'm a nice person. I don't know what you're talking about.
On air. Because she's an Aries.
Okay.
Continue what you were saying.
What was I saying? I was boosting you and you interrupted.
You're talking about the Goldbergs, Russians, 80s.
Oh yeah. So the Goldbergs, they also like played into the 80s, and for their first season, like I remember you and me watched like every single episode, and we were obsessed.
I still watch every single episode. I'm still obsessed.
I fell off. It's okay.
Fake.
But yeah, so like they really played into it. It was like really super cool. But then as their seasons went on, they really lost it. Like we talked about this too. Like Erica, one of the main characters, for those who don't know, she had like the big frizzy hair for like the first few seasons, but then she ended up with like straight hair. Like she started looking very modern, and I guess that's them trying to play into the transition into the 90s maybe. But it just kind of like the whole show was centered around being in the 80s. So I feel like with the more seasons that come along, they might start losing that aspect. Like it's just because it's going away. Even
in a TV show, time goes on.
Yeah.
Right? And
not in cartoons.
Yeah, I mean Arthur's been 8 years old.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
There is an episode I think where they move from 3rd to 4th grade.
Yeah, it just
and Ratburn stays their teacher. We have a lot of very in-depth discussions about Arthur.
Yeah. Arthur is like our childhood like staple show. Like we were super into Arthur.
But yeah, I like the fact that the show kind of seems to know that it's getting past its prime time, which the show could very well go into the 90s into the 2000s. We can follow these kids forever, but it's centered a lot around like the synth pop, like 80s bright colors, like that era, right? Yeah. That time of nostalgia.
Oh my god, can we just talk about the outfits in season 3?
The costuming, oh my god, dude. I would wear every single one of those outfits first of all.
Yes, the romper that Elle has, I looked for it everywhere. And like Party City has like a costume type one, but Target had like the actual romper, like they made it. And so I went to 2 Targets over the summer looking for it, but they were both sold out, and they're completely sold out online. But it's just like, it reminds me a lot of like, those bowling alley floors from like the little bowling alley.
Oh my god, bowling alley carpeting is one of the most aesthetic things ever. The blacklight one.
Oh, I used to love. You remember when like the bowling alley was the spot to hang out in like middle school?
We used to go bowling every Friday in gym class.
Yeah.
Or roller skating.
Yeah, also the roller skating rings. Those were fun too.
Stop swiveling. Speak into the mic.
Sorry. Bad habit. But
pro tip for you kids out there who are ever planning on doing TV interviews,
yes, sir,
or anything involving a mic, never give your guest a swiveling chair because they will swivel.
Curse you, comm building, for your comfortable swivel chairs.
I love the comm building. This is my favorite place on campus.
You're right.
Please
it's the best.
The station.
I'm so sorry. It's like the best building. No, I can't be unloyal to the Fine Arts building. Come on now.
Fine Arts is gorgeous.
Okay,
but
we're on a
comm
tangent.
is where the magic happens.
Back to Stranger Things.
Yes.
the outfits are just amazing. Like, I love how they really played into them in season 3.
Every aspect of that show is, like, in my eyes, award-winning. And it has won awards, obviously.
It
but
better have.
the costuming is impeccable. The audio is... It hits you in... You know whenever you're at a parade and a marching band goes by and you can feel the bass drum in your heart?
Yes.
Watching Stranger Things, the audio is phenomenal. And, of course, the graphics and the visuals is super aesthetic. Like,
yeah.
I don't think I've seen a bad poster from them.
Same. Oh, I just got a poster from them from the poster sale.
Did you?
I worked with them for like an hour, less than an hour, I think, and got me a free poster.
An hour.
An hour. Got me a little free poster. Well, not even little. It's like one of the big ones. I'm excited.
It's a good size poster.
Yeah. It's like the one with the little fireworks in the background. I also, that was like my favorite. Well, I have mixed feelings about that episode, but the episode where they're at the carnival.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing visuals. Like, you can't, don't even get me started on how beautiful it was.
Carnival scenes are hard to film too because there's so many contrasting light sources.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much chaos. There's so much like walking around. That is a show that you watch and you get the feeling they want. Whenever you first see the carnival, you hate the guy, the mayor. Like, at this point, I don't think you like him, right? And so you watch it, but you see the people having fun and you're like, oh wow, the FOMO, bro, I want to be there. And then as like the scene gets more tense, it starts seeming, instead of energetic and active, it starts seeming more chaotic and like anxiety driven. Like,
yeah,
they really do a
that.
good way of translating the emotion that you're supposed to feel across the screen.
Yeah. I also, you know what else I liked about season 3?
What's up?
The fact that they gave Elle a best friend, Max.
It officially patches the Bechdel test, which is where two female characters speak to each other and not about a boy.
That's true. Although it did start off about a boy, but they quickly like moved on.
Yeah, they ended up talking about Russians and saving the world.
Exactly.
What more could you want?
But I hope like they become like a very big like power friendship in season 4 and like take on the monsters and all that good stuff. You know, we need it. We need these female leads.
Yeah.
And it's like really cool.
It's good. It's cool to see the characters' development as well and how they interact, and to see Elle stand up to Mike. Yeah,
that was so funny. Although I kind of felt bad for Mike in a way because he meant well.
Pray for my boy. He ain't do nothing wrong. He's just a little stupid.
Oh my god, the memes. Because people found a picture of him from like before Stranger Things, like flipping off the camera. Those are like one of the best memes of the summer. I'd put it like very high up there.
It's good. It's really good.
But yeah, honestly, like I feel like Max was like, oh yeah, like he's the worst, and Elle could have still seen the good in him. I mean, not saying that he was completely good to her, because he did do a little wrong, but it wasn't like a big wrong, you know.
Right.
But I don't know. I just like fell in love with all the characters at this point. I just really like the whole show, and I hope season 4 isn't the last one.
Yeah, I would definitely have to agree. And especially now that there's so much change going on in the streaming industry.
True. That's like a big thing. It kind of bothers me though, because like
into the mic.
They're taking a lot of shows off of Netflix because all of these companies want to start making their own streaming services, and I really don't like it.
I mean, Stranger Things is safe because it is a Netflix original, but I'm interested to see how all of the shows leaving will impact Netflix's viewership. Like, of course, they're going to have their loyal fans because they like the service, and, you know, the no ads is important. But you know what? Mm-hmm. Before we transition into the topic of streaming services, because if y'all could see Charlotte right now, you could see that she very much cares about this topic. Let's go ahead.
Audibly gasped because I remembered.
Let's take a music break because that's working again, I think. Yes, because this song is relevant to the previous topic. You'll listen for the reference and you'll know it when you hear it. So Charlotte, what song are we playing?
So we're playing Crop Circles by Bellion. It's one of my top songs at the moment, and it mentions Stranger Things in it in like a very cute little way, and I just love it. The beat is nice. It's a nice upbeat song. So
without further ado, this is Crop Circles, Bellion. Shows leaving Netflix. Discussed, because I can see that you're jumping out of your seat to talk about it.
Literally, no. But, okay, so they announced recently that they're going to be taking The Office and Friends off of Netflix.
Officially so, confirmed.
In January, and I am clearly heated about this because those are... Oh, that's another thing I did this summer. I had not watched Friends before, and then this school actually.
Charlotte binge watched a lot of stuff this summer.
Yeah.
You think she went outside? Nah,
barely.
fam.
I got told I looked more pale, so it's whatever.
Okay.
But what was I saying? Oh yeah, my point. So this summer I just got into Friends because the school had done a Friends event thing here, and I was like, dang, like it must be that good of a show if this many people are like clapping along to the theme song. I'm so late to that show. Anyway,
They had a Friendsgiving and they aired Friends during dining hall hours.
it was pretty cool. I liked it. So I was like, yeah, I'm gonna sit down and watch it. So I started watching it this summer. I think I got up to season 8. I haven't been able to like finish watching it because I've been busy with school stuff, But yeah, and then The Office, I watched it a long time ago, binge watched the whole thing, started watching it again because I love it with my whole entire life, and they're taking it off, and I just think it's crazy because I think also Disney is taking a lot of their stuff off because they're doing their own streaming service too, where the Loki series is going to get played, so I have to pay for a whole other thing just to watch the Loki series. Are you kidding me? And so I just think it's crazy. I think all of these companies are not going to bring in as much revenue as they're hoping. Because who, except for like the rich people, are going to want to pay for all these separate streaming services when you could have just kept it convenient with the basic ones, like Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime. But if all the networks have their own streaming service, who's going to pay for all of these? Like, it's just kind of, I feel like it's a bit much. And it's hard on those who are less fortunate with money, such as myself.
Well, I mean, it goes a lot past just the viewer because, like you said, all of these shows leaving Netflix, a lot of people stay on it for very specific shows because that's where they can binge watch them, right? And so these shows leaving Netflix loses that audience or potential newcomers because of it. And, I mean, Stranger Things has proven that Netflix is able to put out a good original that people are into and not have very much controversy around it. I mean, there's controversy around things linked around the actors themselves, but the show itself seems for the most part to be unproblematic. But I mean, Series of Unfortunate Events did pretty well. 13 Reasons Why is one of the more problematic ones.
Yeah, that was really problematic for a lot of
not
people.
problematic, controversial I should say.
Well,
But these shows like Friends and The Office being like the two main big examples, and part of the reason that Harry Potter I think won't sign on to be on any streaming service because Warner Bros wants to have their own. It's going to be interesting to see how the viewership changes, right? Because I don't remember if we got around to discussing this last week, but like Hulu, Disney, and ESPN are going to do some bundle deal for $13 and having all 3 services. So Disney's stuff is leaving Netflix as well.
Yeah, a whole lot
all of the Disney movies and any Marvel, I think, because Marvel is owned by Disney.
Yeah.
So Netflix is about to lose a lot of their content to these streaming services that want to be individual. But like you said, the question is, will viewers want to pay for all of these services? Because I think that the Hulu, Disney, ESPN one is going to be a huge contender for the #1 spot.
I think so, especially since they just released like the new stage for Marvel. That's going to bring in a whole lot of people alone into Disney. But I don't know. I feel like separating it into every individual network is just really tough, because even if they keep it at like $5 for like students, those $5 be adding up. Like soon enough it's gonna be about $50.
It's $5 for Spotify featuring Hulu, but
yeah, and so Netflix just raised their prices too, so I don't know, I feel like they're just trying to profit off of the consumers, and it's not really fair to the consumers.
I mean, that's typically what companies do, Charlotte.
Yeah, but they're trying to like raise it very higher.
No, they're not, dude. That Netflix costs about $10-15 or something like that. So imagine if you're getting 3 services, most people are going to go towards that. Like, it's going to be one or the other. And when it comes down to it, Hulu probably can take this deal.
So do you think what they're trying to do is like compete with Netflix? Like they're separating from Netflix to compete with them?
Obviously. It's not like they're working together to be like, oh, people are going to pay for both services, because that doesn't really benefit one if their people are watching the other. They want to have the most viewers.
I mean, yeah, that makes sense. I just feel like Netflix will always have a lot of viewers because they have a lot of good originals. Yeah,
well, that's been recent though, and the question is, will they be able to keep up with it? Because even Bird Box was good, and it had Sandra Bullock in it, so they're able to get the pull from big actors who will bring viewers. But with newer people who don't have that. I mean, it's you see all these memes about millennials ruining things and Gen Z and how we don't have brand loyalty, but there's no point of being loyal to a brand if they're not creating content that you want to see, right? Or a company or a streaming service. So in my opinion, if Hulu's been able to maintain themselves this successful with ads and all, and Netflix that's one of its biggest like individual things, is the fact that there's no ads, and they do have a lot of good originals, and their competition shows are really great, but the comedy specials as well. I think the Hulu Disney ESPN thing is huge. I mean, there's no other way to look at it. That's a big powerhouse. Disney alone will bring so many people, especially families. That's going to be the new family streaming service. Netflix might remain successful amongst like individual viewers, and especially like the college age kids, the youth maybe, but I don't know. I think the bundle of the big three aforementioned companies will
aforementioned. Okay, look at her.
What? I know how to speak good.
Clearly not.
No, I definitely think they'll take it. But there's been, I mean, it's not like it's new. YouTube's been trying to get into TV. YouTube TV has been more successful than people thought it would be. One of my friends said that she thought it was a really good idea because you only have to go to one place to get so much content.
That's true.
And she's not wrong.
But their shows are still very like low budget for the most part. Like they still have a bit to go before they get like
YouTube, it's not just their originals. Like I said, the YouTube TV thing, like where you can watch TV through a YouTube subscription, like paid subscription.
Oh yeah, where you like pay. Yeah.
And you get access to different content from different channels, but
you don't get ads if you pay for YouTube.
As much as YouTube doesn't listen to their users and their creators, they still have managed to be one of the main sources for video entertainment, and they're actually
like the best one, I'd say.
Yeah, they're the first one you think of, and you watch it in class, you watch it on anyway.
Like, don't nobody use Vimeo? What's that?
They're going to start making their originals free, but
really?
with ads this time around.
Oh,
so that way they still make money from it, because I don't know if they got as many viewers as they wanted. I didn't finish reading their blog because they usually update their blog with any changes they're making. So I watched the explanation by Philip DeFranco show, and I was reading through the sources in the comments, and they're big originals. They're going to be available to the general public, but I think it's just kind of like a ploy to show, hey guys, we have good content, come watch our stuff, and it's super interesting, and
basically that's all it is.
Like, they're wanting people to stay around enough to be interested in paying for the service when the next season comes out or when the next big show comes out.
Right, because there are people who just pay like the month that things comes out, binge watch it for that month, and then they just let it not, or don't pay for it for the rest of it. Turn them up.
You're already as loud as possible.
Oh man.
No, yours sounds good. I'm just being picky. But I mean, YouTube's proven that they can be successful in merging different things. Back to our original point, which is the streaming service bundles, because even the presence of the late night channels on YouTube is insane. Like, they get so many views because people just don't want to watch an hour of TV, so they can go on YouTube and just watch like a clip of Jimmy Fallon or Jimmy Kimmel, Colbert. Yeah, and so do I. And even Saturday Night Live, dude. Saturday Night Live's an hour and a half, and they upload each and every bit to their YouTube channel, so you can watch each skit like alone. If you only want to watch a certain actor or a certain musician's performance, you don't really have to have TV anymore. And so if that's proven anything, it's just that people aren't going to stick with a medium that doesn't work for them. And if Netflix isn't the place to watch the content people want, they're going to go and pay for that service. And everyone's saying that splitting it up is going to make people have to choose, and that's exactly what's going to happen. People are going to choose to watch what they want to see. So I think who's really going to struggle here is going to be the original series, because unless you have a good actor or a really good idea, and like your trailer and your promo is phenomenal and fantastic and it can't be like debated that it's going to be good,
right,
the viewers are just going to stick with what they know that they like. So they're going to be more loyal to individual actors or directors or producers and like certain genres, because I think one of the biggest things is just people not wanting to waste their time, because now everything is so fastly paced, and to watch a show you have to kind of commit to it.
That's true. It does take a lot of time out of your like schedule, but like I don't know, because if it's gonna switch into all these different companies, what if you have like a show that you like in every single company? Like, that's gonna be hard to try to pay for.
Exactly.
It'll just like add up. Like, I don't know. It's just,
So that's why I think
it seems kind of stupid to me.
The
Like,
bundle is going to be the most successful one because you can watch so much.
But then again, that's only 3 though. Like, there should, I mean, if they made a bundle, like a big bundle with all the streaming platforms, maybe that would be successful.
But see, people
that
have
would defeat the purpose.
One of our lovely listeners just said people have short attention spans, and that's true. And having that bundle, you can switch from sports to kids stuff to superheroes to whatever is on Hulu, which is literally everything on TV, like the following day.
I think Hulu is making a step in the right direction, though, to where they have shows, they have like their originals, and then they have stuff that's on TV. But then if you pay like a little extra, you can also get access to a lot of like the live broadcasts or like live shows that are
there's add-ons on Hulu, and you can also pay more to have less ads or no ads.
That's true. So I think they're doing like a step in the right direction to where like, oh, just stay with us, pay a little extra for these things that you want, and you'll be good, instead of having to try to get a whole other streaming service. So I mean, I don't know, if they could find a way to just do that instead, that would be a lot better in my opinion. But yeah, I feel like Netflix will definitely suffer a lot from this movement, I guess, because their big shows are gonna leave.
People are already like kind of flip-floppity about Netflix because anytime that Netflix raises their prices, people are like, oh dude, I'm not gonna pay more. You have the people that do pay, they complain and then they pay more and keep watching, right?
Yeah, they're like, I'm gonna pay anyway.
But then you have the people that don't want to pay more, and then there's people that don't pay at all and just use their friends' accounts. So it's going to come down to like
me, actually.
It's going to come down to like how willing people are to adapt to change, because there are people that complain and they just kind of like stick with it. So there's going to be the people that are like, oh no, how dare they? If Friends is gone, I'm not paying for Netflix anymore. They're going to keep paying for Netflix if there's another show they're watching.
Like the originals, like Stranger Things.
Yeah.
Unless they ended at season 4.
Which I don't think they will. I hope
especially
they don't.
with these big shows leaving, I feel like they're
Netflix isn't going to want to get rid of a show that they like know that is one of their most successful ones.
I hope if anything they get a spin-off. We're back to Stranger Things. You already like completely moved on. Sorry, I'm just like obsessed with it right now. But yeah, I don't know. It just kind of makes me a little sad that The Office and Friends that are like conveniently on Netflix, like all the seasons, are gonna leave in January. So now I have to rush to finish watching Friends, and if I want to rewatch The Office, I have to rush to do that too. Like, with what time?
And to be honest, maybe that's what they want. They want to raise viewership right now that people are freaking out like, oh, all of these shows are leaving, so they're wanting to get people to pay that month, to pay that extra month, you know,
in the meantime, leading up to it.
Exactly,
that's true. They probably will get a lot of revenue from that, but once January hits, it's over. Like, they're going to be gone. Kind of the end of an era, you know?
Right.
Not to be dramatic, but...
So if you were paying for Netflix, which you're not...
Shut up. Shout out to my best friend, Sam, who so nicely lets me leech onto hers.
If you were paying for it, would you continue to pay for it even though your favorite... after Stranger Things is over, even though your favorite shows are leaving, like, would you stick around to see what they can do, or would you just kind of move to wherever your shows are going?
If there was, like, for example, I watch a lot of NBC shows, and if they, like, they're doing their own thing, like, coming up. So if that's where I watch most of my shows, then I would gravitate towards it, because I'd really be getting my money's worth that way. Like, if all my favorite shows that I watch on Netflix are moving to this one company, or like its own streaming service, I would gravitate towards it, because those are the shows I like to watch. Because if there's only like one show on Netflix that I still want to continue watching, why pay a whole subscription for just one particular show,
right,
when 5 of my favorite shows are part of another company that's doing its own type of thing, you know? And also, like, even like with the Disney one, because I'm like very big into Marvel and like superheroes, and especially Loki, because Thor has always been my favorite, and so I'm so excited for the Loki thing, but it's only going to be on the new Disney streaming service. So that's like in the back of my mind, like, oh man, should I get it when it comes out? So like, I don't know, it's tough to try to decide, and it comes back down to you having to pick and choose what you pay for.
Right.
So I don't know. I don't like the fact that it's dividing, because I feel like if they hadn't, probably the Loki thing would have been on Netflix, because, you know, they have Infinity War, they have Ragnarok, they have like a lot of that stuff.
That's a really good move, because they know that that's going to get attention for them. Like,
exactly.
I know it's like a big thing, like, oh, no one's too big to fail. Disney is too big to fail. they have such an obsessive fan base, like the
Yeah.
fans of Disney, and so does Marvel. Superheroes in general. These are all things that have grown so far past their reputation that there's going to be the people that stick through it, even if they completely self-sabotage. There's going to be the people that are like, oh, it'll get better the next big production. There's going to be people that stick around to see what comes next.
Right.
Or there's
yeah.
also going to be the people that hate watch it. Like, my friends and I are, like, say that we watched Stranger Things just because it was popular, right? And we wanted to find everything wrong with it.
Mhm.
We're still watching it, right?
Yeah, like they're still getting
Which is a total
their
lie. I
money
love Stranger
either
Things.
way.
I stand. Yeah. That's a big thing too, especially like we were talking about YouTube. Every view is money. Every single
Yeah.
view.
Especially with the ad revenue. Oh my god, they be making a lot of money just from clicking on the video.
Yeah, and so that's how it works for all the streaming services as well, you know? Anytime that someone talks about how much they hate that this is happening, people are going to look into it. So it's like, oh, Netflix is doing what? And people are gonna be like looking up Netflix. Oh, what did Netflix do? What's that? And the people that have subscriptions, like you said, they're going to just kind of binge watch everything they can now before it's all gone.
Before it gets to that point. Yeah, I agree. So, I don't know. I mean, it's going to suck when it comes around, but I feel like the people who have the money will pay for it. Like, they'll pay for what they want to see regardless. But I don't know. I just wish they could just stay on Netflix for me to binge watch forever.
Yeah, and like, I mean, and also speaking of loyalty, I love whenever people weigh in online. Oh, if you haven't heard, we have a Twitter now.
Oh,
PODKASTXK. That's
Do I even
podcast
follow?
by K. And it's podcast with a K, obviously. But yeah, feel free to tweet us or DM us, tell us what you're thinking. But we talked about it last week about the Sony Marvel Spider-Man thing.
Oh,
People
yeah.
don't care who's making the movie. People that like Spider-Man are going to keep watching for Spider-Man.
But see, here's my thing, okay? My opinion. You know I freaking love Spider-Man. Like, that's been one of my main superheroes since day one. However, it makes me so upset because they were just now incorporating him into the Avengers, which is something we had been waiting on for a really long time.
We as in you and me, or we as in a fan base?
I mean, both, because you and me were also waiting on it. But, like, I guess I'm, like, speaking for the fan base. Because people were so hyped for it, and everybody was like, oh, yeah, it's in the comics. It has to be in the movies. Like, he has to join the Avengers at some point. And with this Spider-Man, which Stan Lee himself, by the way, said was the best Spider-Man that he has seen. R.I.P.
Rip
to
Stan Lee.
Yeah. But, yeah, like, they were just now incorporating him into the whole Avengers scene, and they were doing it in such a beautiful way. So to just suddenly take it away, it's crazy. Like, just because they can't come to an agreement, they're gonna mess up the whole Marvel universe. Like, I'm so upset. Like, how dare they?
I kind of wish we'd had you in the studio last week during the Spider-Man segment, because
I wish. I mean, that
you would have been
yeah.
just an addition to the chaos.
Shout out to our homies. Love them, but they're chaotic.
Chaotic good.
Very
Thankfully.
chaotic good. Love them so much. But yeah, it's crazy. Like, I don't know. I'm not happy about that at all. I really hope that they can still talk about it and come to an agreement before it comes out. Because what are they going to do? Are they just going to cut out all aspects of the Avengers from his movies?
That's what they're saying.
That's crazy.
But see, this is exactly what I'm talking about. You're the type of fan that will follow what you like through whoever's
I mean, I'm still going to watch it
producing
because
it.
I love Spider-Man.
I'm gonna still watch though. I'm gonna still watch.
Yeah, I'm going to still watch. And that's the thing. Like, they know fans are going to still watch.
That's why none of these streaming companies is freaking out. And that's why I think that, I mean, I haven't seen Amazon Prime do anything for, I mean, Mr. Robot's coming back, which is going to be huge, which I love. But I haven't seen a lot of the streaming companies kind of make a push to retain viewers now that this is happening with Hulu.
Yeah.
Because I don't think they need it.
They're not worried. They're not stressed.
No, I really want to, I'm super interested to see how the viewership changes. I don't know if Netflix is going to be as big as it was. I do think it's going to kind of take that second place
It's
trophy.
going to take a hit for sure.
But I mean, if Stranger Things stays around, that fan base is going to stick around, right? But if they ever kind of shift into new things with new actors, like completely, entirely original things that aren't hyped up, I don't know if they're going to be able to keep the number one spot.
Yeah. I feel like it's going to be hard for them to try to compete at that point because they did rely a lot
Yeah,
on these
because people aren't
shows.
fans of Netflix. They're fans of the shows on
Of
Netflix.
course.
And people are going to follow those shows. They're
I mean,
not
the
going
only
to
reason
follow
I would
the
consider myself, I
streaming
guess,
service.
the only reason I'd consider myself like a fan of Netflix itself is because it doesn't have ads. Like, it's the only streaming service right now that's completely ad free. So that's why I gravitate more towards it as opposed to Hulu. Like, I do have Hulu, but those ads, I mean, they're like 30 seconds and I'm over here complaining, but it's like a slightly annoying. Like, people like to watch things just straight without like little pauses in between because it's
Right.
really what keeps you engaged. So that's what sets Netflix apart from the group. And so I don't know, I actually haven't like looked into it, but I don't know if like the Disney one is gonna have ads. I haven't heard anything. I know the NBC one for sure will have ads. Like, they put ads in, like, you know how you can go back and watch a show like the day
On
after?
their website and their app.
Yeah, they jam pack it with ads. So like, I'm sure that they'll
Yeah,
have it.
I
But
think that
I don't know
the-
if Disney will though.
Disney will probably have... I'm not sure because Disney does
Right.
movies
Yeah.
mostly. That's their like big things. Well, the other shows are short too. Like Zack and Cody, I know got taken off of Netflix a while ago, and that was when
that was years
that was
ago.
around the time when the rumors of this becoming official like started to like really ramp up. But those shows are short, so I wouldn't think there would be very many ads in between it. Like on TV, a 20-minute show gets what, like 4 or 5 ads maybe.
I'm not sure.
I think it's around 3 or 4. Not too many because it's a short show, but if anything, I feel like they'll do maybe an ad at the beginning and an ad at the end or in the middle or something. I don't think they're gonna load those shows up with ads, especially the kids ones, unless it's ads for other things that they
hope.
themselves are doing
Well,
or
like-
promos for their other shows. But I mean, Hulu does have as many ads as a TV spot, like an actual
Yeah.
TV show.
It literally does. Like, even like I've been watching Grownish on Hulu, and that one's like a 20 to 30-minute show. It's normally like 25 minutes around there. And I think they have like 3 commercial breaks or like ad breaks in between
A
for
40-minute
just that
show.
long of a show.
And see,
so.
I personally am someone that does not play well to ads, especially the tailored ads, like based on your other site history. I don't think that ads should have access to that personally, like the AdSense thing. But like even with ad block, it still freezes the show for the 30 seconds. You can't skip past that. And it has the audacity to say, you're using an ad block, so we can't display a word from our sponsors. And I'm like, I know, that's the point.
But it still makes you sit there and wait.
Don't treat me as just a buyer. I'm a whole person interested in what you're offering. And if you're
That's
going to treat me
true.
like just money, then throw my money in the trash because I'm not buying your product.
Well, yeah,
Shoot.
I mean, to them, you're just a consumer. Like, you're just somebody who can bring them their ad revenue, and that's all they care about. Like, they really don't care about the viewers. They just care about the money coming in from them.
Yeah. And so like I have ad block on every computer, on every browser. Like I don't have time for your nonsense, especially whenever the ads aren't when the ads are what doesn't load, or when the ads are what makes a page not work, especially on news sites, by the way.
Yeah.
Ads
I
on
can
like news, like national news, important things. There's some ads that'll redirect you away from the page towards some site that says, congratulations, you just won $1 million. Also download this malware onto your computer. And like, I don't have time for that. I'm just trying to see what's going on in the world.
Yeah, for one of my classes, we have to see a lot of articles for the New York Times. Oh my
I
God.
hate
It
that
won't even
site.
load the page because of all the ads. And then you try to scroll.
If you use ad block, it makes you log in to prove that. Yeah.
Wow. See, that's crazy.
The
Like,
good
they
thing
just
is
wanna
articles
sell.
usually get posted on more than one site, but
I guess.
that's why I'm not the biggest fan of Hulu, just because of the ads, right? But the people that want to see Disney, and the people that want to see sports, and the people that don't want to pay $13 for each thing and instead can pay $13 for a bundle, they're going to pay to see the ads.
Of course.
And I think it's not that much more to get rid of the ads, so people will be like, oh, well, we're already getting 3 services. What's a few dollars more?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, even with YouTube, like, that's how YouTubers make a lot of their money
Ads.
through ad
I
revenue. That's really, like,
whitelist
their main
certain
source.
channels. Like I'll sit through your ads if you like. The Philip DeFranco show is lovely for news.
You are obsessed.
Yeah, it's good. It tells me what I need to know in about 20 minutes, and it has sources if I want to get more in-depth knowledge. But there's, like I said, let me choose what I'm paying for, you know.
Exactly. I
But
agree.
whenever it's a streaming service that has access to so much, I feel like that's the mindset. People get what they're paying for, so they're willing to sit through the ads or the 30 seconds of black screen.
True. Oh, and can we just talk about how, like, creepy ads are sometimes, though? Like, you'll be talking about something, and then suddenly it'll pop up on your phone. When I know I did not, like, type something into my phone, and, like, an ad just comes up for something I was
It
just
came
talking
out
about
that
out loud.
Facebook actually did listen, didn't it?
Yeah, they released a statement saying, "Oh yeah, guys, we've been
I
doing
was like,
this."
bro, I've been telling you this for the past 10 years and y'all never believe
But now
me.
you can turn it off. Like they added the little setting where you can like turn it off.
Is that a thing for real?
Mm-hmm. But it's like deep in the settings, and I'm just like, hold on, like I did not approve of this. Like it was in the fine print or something, because it used to happen all the time. And remember we tested it one time, and you were like, okay, I'm gonna say a random word, and if an ad pops up, we know they're listening, and it happened. Like
Y'all didn't. This was like 5 years ago. Y'all didn't believe me.
Yeah,
I proved y'all
I
wrong.
was a skeptic, but now I'm just like, crazy.
I actually don't know if Facebook actually listens. I remember seeing that, and that was enough proof for me. But even if not, then I still believe what I believe. I said what I said.
You said what you said.
I did indeed. But we got way off topic here.
I know.
My question was gonna be, which of the streaming services would you actually prefer?
I don't know.
You said you'd stick with your shows.
Yeah, like whichever service has the most shows I watch is probably like if I was like a.
So you wouldn't stick around
customer.
for originals?
No, because I feel like I'll have friends that will stick around for them.
How
and
do you
if
think?
if a friend has all these shows on this streaming site that they like, and
Let
they're
me ask you
sticking
this
with
from
it,
a different
then I
perspective.
can-
As someone that hopes to work in the entertainment industry, how would you feel if your originals aren't getting enough attention because people are watching shows that have already existed and already made people famous?
See, that's tough.
Because you have to think about both sides of this.
Yeah,
And so do I,
for the
because that's what I want to
future.
go into. But I mean, like I said, I'll see what's up. I'll see what's popping.
I mean, at the end of the day, you can't really control it. People are going to watch what they want to watch, no matter how good you think your show is.
So wouldn't you want to be a part of the people that pushes towards the new instead of the old, considering that you were going to be the new?
I mean, yeah, in a way. But if a show's not good, a show's not good. Like
You
I'll
are your
give
own
it,
demise, Charlotte.
Yeah. It's like very conflicting.
You have to think about a lot of things, especially when you care about the entertainment industry.
That's true. But I mean, well, yeah, because I will be on both sides. Like I will be like a consumer as well as
Content
I guess,
creator.
Yeah, content
some
creator, I guess you
disc-
could call it.
That's, I don't know, to some capacity.
Yeah, well, we've been calling it a talent, like in my TV production class.
Yes.
But yeah, so I'll be a consumer as well as talent.
You're going to be a
so-
part of the new productions, so wouldn't you want
Yeah.
people to watch the new productions?
Well, of course, and I feel like people who stick with. Well, okay, but what if I'm on one of the new streaming services though? What if that's what I end up on? Of course, I'll.
Well, that's your luck.
Yeah, I mean, it all depends. Like, you can't really be picking.
Maybe
the
you should be more
industry,
open-minded.
I guess.
No, I don't care. That's up to you. It's your decision. But that's interesting to think about from that perspective, isn't it?
Yep.
And it also has a lot to do with what you work in, because I feel like TV series have a way different audience than, or not TV series, streaming service originals have different audiences than movie originals on streaming services.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because it's easier to just watch a movie, but that's just a movie. At least a series has a potential for a longer season and
it
longer
stays on
viewership.
for longer years. You get more work. Like that's really what a lot of people gravitate to, just because they'll have like a secure job for a longer amount of time.
Right.
So, yeah.
All right. Well, as our time begins to draw to a close, you had one more song for us?
I did. So one of my favorite songs at the moment is one by a totally underrated artist. I feel like he deserves a lot more recognition than he gets. His name is Pink Sweats, and the last S is a $, and the song is called Honesty. It's such a good song.
All right. So let's give that song a listen.
Bet.
That was Honesty by Pink Sweats.
Wasn't that one of the greatest songs you've ever heard?
It's a really nice vibe to wind down the night.
For sure. But yeah, that's one of the songs I've been having on replay for a good minute now. I just feel like he deserves a lot more recognition.
For sure. I feel like that type of music is like getting a lot of time in the spotlight too. Like R&B had a good time in the 90s, 2000s, and now it's kind of coming back.
Yeah, that's true. I really like the whole R&B vibe right now, so I'm really glad. Like, Khalid is my favorite, so he's very much like R&B.
Nice. All right. Well, we have a little bit of time. Any closing remarks? Any last statements about any of the topics or anything you want to say before you go off air?
I don't know. I guess I'm just really glad to be back on podKast with the K. You need to have a jingle. You need a jingle.
It's in the works. Low key, high key.
I'm into it. But yeah, so thanks for having me back.
Of course. All right, guys. Well, midnight has struck, just like Cinderella.
All right.
Thanks for listening to 90.1 WECS FM. This has been Podcast with a K. This is Carla with a K, featuring Charlotte with a L-I-T, signing off. We'll see y'all next week at the same time on the same station. New nonsense, new guest. Good night.